Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Matt, and if you don't know, I actually have a lot of experience making trailers for video games, trailers in general actually. And so today we are talking about Hotel Magnate, a game that I supported on Kickstarter back in the day, and I've sort of been leaving it to cook. I've only played an hour of the game so far. This was probably a couple of years ago, and I felt that it wasn't quite there yet, but they were making a good try of things, and so I was interested to see how the game was going to develop. Much to my surprise, I read their latest Steam post that announces the opening of the hotel. So they're launching their game at the end of September. And so I was very excited when I heard this and decided to check out their release trailer. So let me know if you noticed anything right off the bat. No, YouTube isn't buffering. The opening shot to their trailer is a stuttery mess. Now, that could be an issue with the general capture, or the game itself could be like that. And unfortunately, if you're watching the trailer, you don't know the difference between those two. So opening with a stuttery mess of a camera rotation is probably not a great choice when you're making a trailer. There's just a ton of choices in this trailer that I find strange, especially for a launch trailer. So one of the other weird things that they've decided to include is that there are a ton of shots here that show the Fmod Studio debug overlay, which you only get in a development build or in editor, and you can turn it off very easily. So it's very confusing to me as to why they've decided to, in their launch trailer, include a bunch of debug footage. It doesn't make the game look good, and it's not the impression that you want to give to potential buyers on your Steam page. And they have chosen to use this exact same trailer on their launch page with the same stuttering. So I don't want to hark on them too much. It's entirely possible they just needed to get something out of the door, and so they slapped a bunch of footage together that was good enough and decided that that would work well enough for a launch trailer. But unfortunately, it just comes across reading rushed and giving just a bad impression of the video game to potential buyers on the store page. And so I think there's probably a thing or two you can learn for your own trailers or your own games, and maybe take some lessons from this game. So first and foremost, don't put debug overlay footage in your trailer. Reshoot it. Generally, you should capture footage from a build of your game because it's going to run the best, because it's not running a bunch of debug build stuff in the background. You should never really capture footage from in editor because that's always going to look bad, and that should also solve the issue of potentially laggy footage. Bad pacing or stuttering could probably come if you're trying to run a heavy engine underneath and also press your CPU for resources while capturing footage and encoding footage in real time. There's obviously other things you can do there, like buy a capture card or use your graphics cards encoding. Generally though, if you're running a build, you're going to have a better time capturing footage. But if your machine just can't do that, then don't be the person on the team that is capturing that footage. It should go to somebody else who can, or put some money into a machine that can capture footage for your game. But no matter what, whoever is watching it, if you have stuttery footage in your trailer, especially if it's a good chunk of the trailer, which in this instance it is, there are a ton of shots that have a bunch of camera lag and characters are jumping around, there's stuttering with the animations, it doesn't make your game look as professional as you probably should be presenting it as. And so if you're saying to me, well, my game is a little bit stuttery, so I don't want to misrepresent it, don't include those shots, or fix the stuttering yourself. Like, fix the game, solve that problem before you're capturing the footage. Make that a priority as part of your capture process, is to solve those problems. Obviously, I know you can't avoid it fully, but try and pick and choose shots that show the game in the best positive light. That's my general advice. And so for whatever reason, if you find that whenever you rotate the camera, it creates stutter because it's loading things poorly, especially when you're capturing things, don't choose to rotate the camera. Move the camera in a different direction instead, or just leave it static and zoom digitally or something like that. There's a lot of different things you can do to make your game look good without necessarily bearing all of what your game is, especially if when you're capturing the trailer, you haven't gotten around to fixing bugs that you're definitely going to have fixed by the time the game comes out. So you need to be mindful of those too. You don't want to be showing things that definitely aren't going to be in your final version. And so either avoid those when capturing, solve them before capturing, or wait to release, get most of your trailer made, and then include those shots in, and then release your trailer once those final shots are done. Lock the narrative of the trailer, but wait until you've got the correct footage. Like, really, the key thing I'm trying to stress here is that your footage is important, and you should be paying attention to detail in your footage. You don't need to go insane with it, but generally you should be paying attention to what's going on. I would probably cut this trailer down by about 30 seconds. It doesn't really need to be 2.5 minutes. 2 minutes is still kind of pushing it. I'd go for 1.5. Overall, the general concept is good. It's showing all the different types of things you can do, the different types of rooms. It's showing clearly here all the different build features, the customization options. I think that's really strong, and I think it does show the game off really well. And that's kind of part of the problem, is it's generally not a bad trailer. If they just made sure that the shots weren't laggy and that debug overlays weren't showing, I wouldn't even be making this video. In fact, I'd be saying this game looks great. I can't wait to play it. And obviously this isn't a reflection on the developers at all. I really just wanted to talk about this and maybe show some mistakes so that you can think about these things yourself in your own trailers. Because ultimately your trailer reflects the quality of your game, and it changes somebody's perception of your competency as a developer and your ability to put out a good product. If things don't work out and certain shots don't work out, just cut them. People watching the trailer won't know what isn't in the video, what you chose to leave behind, and it gives them more to find when they play the game for real. Generally, just don't be too precious about your trailer. If you find that certain things aren't working, feel free and try to pivot and be creative with it, but it should show your game in the best possible light. And unfortunately, this trailer doesn't do that. It draws attention away from itself, which is also a shame because, like I said, it's a good concept. I understand what these shots are trying to convey, and if they didn't have half the issues they had in them, I'd be super on board. So as an example, let's look at something similar. This is the 2 Point Hospital trailer that launched, this was 7 years ago, but it shows a very similar style of thing. The cameras are moving, you see action happening in all of these. It makes you intrigued, but notice how everything is smooth, everything is visually coherent, and I'm generally engaged in what's happening and what's going on here because I'm not distracted by glitches or certain issues within the visuals themselves. I can actually fully pay attention to what I'm seeing on screen. And so it's subtle, but it makes a big difference, especially when we have these wide shots like this. Making sure that they're performant is a really big deal. So hopefully taking a look at this has given you some of your own things to think about. Again, I really don't want to harass the devs. I'm sure they are just pressured to the wall to try and get this game ready for release. I just think that if it was me, nothing like this would ever have made it out the door. So I'm surprised that it did. So obviously the cat is out of the bag at this point, but you can go in and edit the links in these pages and you can update the video that's being used on your store page. So my general professional advice would be to reshoot this trailer and replace it as soon as possible so you have a higher quality version. But I do think if they launch with this trailer, it's going to have a significant impact on people's interest in buying the game, especially because they're sitting with mixed review scores right now. And that combined with these issues in the trailer are going to be a turn off for so many people. And that's just so unfortunate because it looks like it's an excellent game. It looks like it's going to be really interesting, and it looks like they're going to continue working on it once the game comes out. But obviously they need to make sales for that to happen. And it just feels like they've shot themselves in the foot a little bit. And so, yeah, I'm really just trying to provide some advice for you to not make the same mistakes here. So I really wish them the best, and I'm really curious to know what you guys think. So let me know down below. Do you want me to check this game out when it comes out? Also let me know. I'd be interested in that. So yeah, that's about it for this video. Hopefully it's given you something to think about. So if you're interested in more videos like this, then do let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. And if you're not already subscribed, do consider subscribing to the channel so you can see more videos like this. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you learned something. I will see you again next time. Bye.